Ooh, how exciting.
Oh, it was deleted from Facebook, it says. Anyway, we live. There you go.
Amazing. So just to say, I don't see anything on my feed.
Oh, I see. We've got our one of our guests is in the room. Can you see Claire down there? Hi, Claire.
No.
Well, I've got Claire at the bottom here. She's joined. Hi,
Ooh,
Claire. We can't hear Claire, unfortunately. We can add her to the stream, but then I'm not going to add her to the stream. She says no. So if you want to, can you post comments, Claire? If you want to post comments or questions, you're welcome to do so at the bottom. But yeah, everybody, here goes the launch of our first episode of the Art of Orgasmic Relationships.
Yes, and probably as everyone noticed, we are not very experienced with all of this, but we're getting there.
Yes, we're getting there slowly but surely. Anna, do you want to introduce yourself?
Yes, thank you. So my name is Anna Thellman. I'm a sexual intimacy coach, and I help you to overcome your self-sabotaging thoughts and mindset to have a more fulfilled, intimate, and sexual relationship with yourself or with your partner. And I live in China, so I'm in the East. And Tracy?
Well, my name is Tracy Kimberg. I live in Dorset, down south in beautiful Dorset. I'm a relationship expert. I help adults navigate a healthy relationship with each other by addressing their various aspects of their relationship that are important: emotional connection, physical connection, and intellectual connection. And we're very excited to have you here with us listening. And I hope you enjoy this live and invite you to ask questions as we go along. We have a surprise subject today, which Anna's chosen. So without further ado, let's share the secret of what we're going to talk about today, Anna.
Yeah, because it's our first episode, we're talking about the first time.
Interesting, which is something that we've all had, hopefully. Is your first time that you've been intimate with a person, maybe your first time overall, and how that has impacted your relationship and your future relationships and your past relationships. Has that had any impact on it? So, Anna, do you want to start off by talking about a little bit about why you chose the subject?
Yes, I chose this subject because because we said we talk about orgasmic relationships, and the first time is so important, having this sexual intercourse, having this sexual experience with someone else. I personally think it's it shapes you. It shapes how you look at sex. It shapes how you look at intimacy. It shapes how you look at relationships. It shapes your trust. It shapes your confidence. And I wanted to start with it because it's our first time we're doing this. So let's honor it.
Very appropriate. Very appropriate. You know, when you said to me we should talk about this, I couldn't help but think that thinking about the first time, you can't ignore the build up to the first time and how that whole thing evolves and where it actually begins. It begins for me. It begins when you're a child and how you are taught about intimacy and what your perception is of intimacy. Is it something that's beautiful and natural? Is it a taboo? Should you be enjoying it? Is it something that's, something that you shouldn't be doing? Is it a naughty thing? Is it a dirty thing? But for I think it's as for us as women or even men, I think your build up to that actual first time, there's so many things that affect it, isn't it? And it could make you have expectations.
Yeah.
The expectations, Anna, what do you think about expectations when it's your first time?
Well, you know that I'm not a big fan of expectations in any way. So the less expectations you have, the higher the chances that you don't get too disappointed, I find. And I want to share a bit of my first time, because I was very, very lucky to have, I was in a committed relationship at the time. Even though I was very young, I was in this committed relationship where my boyfriend at the time, he was more experienced, and I knew, I had the feeling that I can trust him, that he loves me, that he will take care of me, and that sex is nothing that we just do quickly to get it over with, but that he wants me to enjoy. So my first time in that perspective, it wasn't great. It wasn't spectacular. Don't get me wrong. It was
a little
like,
bit awkward.
yeah, and it was all weird. And even after the sex, because I was on a pill and we didn't use condoms, the sperm came back out of me, and it was like, what the fuck is going on here? So for me, it was all
Exactly.
I don't know why people think this is so amazing. I didn't get it at the time. But what I had was him. He held me in his arms. He talked to me about it. He came back the next day. So it wasn't this, get it over with, and that's it. It was this, I'm here. It's a continuous thing. I'm not here because I just wanted to have sex with you. And and I think I'm very lucky for having to have had that.
Yes. You are very lucky, because so many people don't have that experience. I bless his heart, my first time, I was 18 at the time, was similar to that. We were very much in love. We found a secret place, because obviously we had to do it in a naughty way, because we weren't able to do it at home or anywhere else. So we had to find a place to do it, which we luckily did. And the same experience was like, oh, how's this going to be? And is it painful? Is it this? Is it that? But it was a very special, and I look back at it now as it was something special, which to me is great. And for me, sex is something, and intimacy, they go hand in hand. For me, they're two different things. Sex and intimacy have to be together. And yeah, when you're young, it's nice to have pull your clothes off sex with people, like in the movies. But as you get older, I think when you are in a long-term committed relationship, when you actually get to know one another's bodies and know each other's likes and dislikes, sex can get a lot better. And especially if you're open and communicate about it. It doesn't necessarily have to be as awkward and sometimes a little bit scary, like with your first time, just like we were this morning, coming online, trying to change things here and there, and Anna's camera wasn't working. But a lot of tension can happen in the first time, and maybe the man can't get an erection, or and this is not only for when you're a teenager. When you get older and you have maybe a second or third relationship after divorce or something, there's a lot of tension there. You're aware of your body, your partner's stressed about how he can perform, might not be able to get an erection because of stress or something else. And there's so many things that can affect that first time. But I think the key is communication about it, and keeping that intimacy. Kay, McCready, she's joined us here on LinkedIn, and she says that when she was, when her first time, when she was young, she was taught all those things that I mentioned earlier about what is sex about. But hopefully, Kay, I hope that your first time was a great experience, and that you did feel the nurturing and the closeness that is so important when it comes to intimacy and sex.
Yeah, for example, my parents, we didn't talk about it, so we didn't. I didn't know how a man works. I didn't know how the woman proper works. It was just like, oh, I got my period. My mom said, well, here are the how you call them in English, the big
towels.
the big chunky ones. It's like, here you go, and it's like, what?
What's this? Shame. Kay says, take Kay's replied. She says she didn't have a very good experience her first time. And I'd love to, if you wanted to share, Kay, what were the factors that impacted that? Why wasn't it a good experience? And if anybody else that's listening would like to share, what was your first experience like, and has it impacted how you've perceived future relationships and how you view intimacy in your relationship now?
How has it shaped you, Tracy, your first time?
Well, for me, it's I was very lucky. I grew up in a very, very open-minded house. My father's a gynecologist, my mother's a nurse. So, there wasn't sugarcoating, and there wasn't weird names for our parts, like they call it here in England. It was a vagina and a penis, and we were taught that was what it was. And my dad was very open about things, so I knew what sex was about. I knew about orgasms. I knew about everything, and masturbation was openly spoken about. It wasn't seen as bad. You shouldn't be masturbating or something like that. So I knew my body, and I still do. And but for some reason, as I was in my long relationship, my first marriage, I didn't have the ability to really, in the beginning, say what I liked, because I was so, I just thought that you'd just be quiet and, go through the motions and enjoy yourself. But I've realized that, having intimacy and sex is a process of, even in that moment, a very close form of communication. And it doesn't always have to be the same. It's about exploring each opportunity of intimacy as something that can be different. It doesn't have to be boring and monotonous and every time the same thing. It's a beautiful experience of discovery of one another. And the intimacy is very, very close, in a way that just as much as I want to explore my partner and how I can maybe help him find pleasure, it's important for me that my partner wants to do the same and explore me as a person and my body and talk about it and be very, very open about it. And yes, sometimes sex is, especially when you're at my age, when you don't need contraception anymore, so it makes it a lot easier. I don't have to worry about contraception, but yes, I embrace every aspect of it. It's when you say about when the first time when the sperm came out and all that, the same for me when I had my first time. It was quite like, ooh, what's this, But my partner was very, very, my first time partner, bless him, he actually passed away. I kept contact with him all these years. He actually came with me to the bathroom and handed me a towel, and was very, very caring for an 18-year-old kid. I mean, wow. that was something else, wasn't it? Very caring and like taking care of me in that moment. And he was quite embarrassed about it.
Oh,
So so I think it went pretty well. Kay's answered. Kay, so I'd like to read her message, Anna. She says sex wasn't talked about in my family. I had sex because I wanted him to love me. He just wanted sex, which he got, and then dumped me immediately and went and told everyone I was a slag. There was violence toward him afterwards, as I was left with shame around sex. Can you believe she says she can't believe she's sharing this to everyone on LinkedIn. Well, you know what, Kay? I applaud you for sharing it because I think so many people have similar experiences. I mean, I've had as at uni, I've had experiences where you like a guy, you end up sleeping with him, and it's like he ghosts you the next day, and you feel used and abused. So I think a, a lot of, I don't know how you feel, Anna, but sometimes you say you don't like the word expectations, but for me, I'm a human being. I can't help but have expectations. And for me as a woman, I never just had sex just because I wanted sex. I had sex because I liked the person and I was hoping that it would be something. But and then when it doesn't turn out like that, it's a huge letdown. And it does affect your self-confidence and your self-worth, you know?
yes. What I did is I set up my rules, and that it was like we either date for at least 3 weeks and we see each other almost daily, and then we have sex. Or if that's not happening, then we meet, have dates for at least 5 days, and then if I want, we have sex. So for
I
me, it
love
was,
that.
yeah, it was because I didn't like, I didn't think about not liking the idea of one night stands or that sort of thing. For me, it was just like, I don't want that. I want it this way. I want to be like taken out for dinner and get to know that person just because I want to. And then if I want to, then we have sex. So for
Yeah,
me, that sort of disappointment, I never had it because I never let myself go into that situation.
yeah. Yeah, that's a good strategy. Let's call it a strategy. It's very interesting that you say 3 weeks. Sorry, I have a bit of a chest cold. When when I do help a lot of couples in what I do, it's interesting that a lot of men see it differently. There's this thing out there about the third date amongst
Mhm.
men that on the third date they want sex. And I find that really odd. 3 dates isn't much, is it? Um, you know, it's a myth, maybe a myth. Let's call it a myth that 3 dates is enough. I think it's important to communicate when you meet somebody and read the signs, the good and the bads, the red flags and the green flags,
Mhm.
and make sure that you are talking about sex before you actually have it so that you can
Did
know.
you do that? Did you actually talk to the guys about sex before you had sex with them? Because
not
I did
not when I was younger.
know.
But as I mature, like with my partner, oh, he's going to kill me if he hears this talk. But but we spoke about it, and spoke about, are you, what do you think about it? How do you, what do you, how do you value sex? Is it important to you, and things like that? And I think the more people actually communicate about it and talk about it, just like the weather, it's a natural thing, to actually talk about your values when it comes to sex, your needs when it comes to sex. So yes, there's a lot of unknown when you're having it the first time, isn't it? And that's
Mm.
part of the turn on, let's be honest, is that what's he gonna do, what's his technique or whatever. But that's part of what arouses you and makes you excited.
I wasn't much aroused, to be honest. I don't think I was feeling much apart from okay, mm-hmm. So it's just like this, let's see what's happening here. Because
really, is this your first time, Anna?
Well, for me it was because I've been raped when I was 11, so I don't count that as my first because that was theoretically my first time, but I don't want to see it like my first time, because I chose to do the first time with my partner at the time.
Okay.
So that was my first time, and it was really, I don't remember being excited or aroused or have any. It was like, what is he doing there? Oh my god, he's touching me. Oh my god. Oh.
Yeah. Well, that's it's part of the discovery and the unknown, isn't it? I mean, I think because with my first time was completely different. I was like so turned on and hot for this guy, so it was great. And I enjoyed it. It was amazing for me. And maybe he'd I don't know, I never thought of it, maybe it was his first time too. So I think we were just in a very trusting space, and that's what made it great. And it wasn't a rushed thing. It was very slow and very, very intimate experience, and that's how I like it now. So maybe it did actually exactly. So maybe that's exactly what's I should actually send him a say thank you to him for being so gentle and kind in my first time. Kay has sent us another message, Anna. She says that you've got a great boundary, and if you have high self-worth. She said she didn't have high self-worth back then, and she certainly does now, and it's a great strength of mine. She says she's the same as me in that regard, just to value yourself and believe that you also can enjoy it, and you have a right to say what you like and what you don't like.
What did you try first? Because I remember like I said, no one talked to me about sex. I didn't know what was going on. I didn't know how the two bodies even work together.
And here you are now, a sexual intimacy coach. So you've definitely caught up with that. Exactly. Anna, what do you think about the pressure that some people feel to have sex, even at a young age, and even as they get older in relationships? For me, after my marriage broke up, I was married for 25 years. It was extremely scary for me to think I need to sleep with somebody else now. And it took me a long time to actually make myself feel that I could trust somebody and be vulnerable. But how do you think the pressure that people sometimes feel to have it, and what type of pressures are unhealthy?
So I think doesn't matter what age you are, but like Kay said, no, she said, she said, I wanted him to love me. And I think that's the key here, that many of us, when we throw our body onto someone else, we want their attention, we want their love, we want to be acknowledged. And it's moving around on my... Are you doing that, Tracy?
Yes, I'm just putting them up here so people can read.
Okay. So where was I? The need to be loved, the need for attention, the need for being important. And that has to do with the lack of self-confidence. Because the more you love yourself in that easy spoken words, the more self-love you have for yourself, the less you crave it from others. So when your self-esteem, self-confidence is quite low, you go external and you look for gratification, attention from others. And then comes along the man who thinks, hey, the third time, this is where we have to go down to business. And you feel, oh yeah, he likes me. I think he likes me. Maybe he likes me more. He wants to be committed if we have sex now. So you jump into bed.
Exactly.
Hoping that you get that love that you crave for.
Yeah, that's so true. And the pressure to, I think one needs to actually really take time to assess why you are saying yes. Why are you as a person saying, I want to have sex for the first time with the person? What are your reasons? Is it because of pressure, or is it because you just want to and you feel this is good and right and you want to go ahead? And maybe if you have doubts, then use Anna's technique and, wait 2, 3, 4 months. I mean, for me, when I met my partner, we were together for over 3 months before we got intimate, which was quite hard because we were very attracted to each other, but I didn't want to expose, first of all, my kids to somebody as a close friend or partner before I knew 100% that this was going to be good and the right person for me. So it's about allowing yourself that time and not to feel that pressure when it comes to your partner saying, well, I think it's about time now, or I'm going to move on, or something like that. Then
let them go.
Then hit the road, Jack.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, because you don't want to spend the rest of your life with someone who's putting you under pressure to do something that you don't feel ready for.
Yeah.
That's not the point of having a relationship.
Yeah. Claire said that she just wanted to get her first time over with. And I think a lot of time it is like that, where you just think, okay, well, I've got to do this. And it goes hand in hand with your expectations of hearing that maybe, especially for if girls that are still a virgin, that it can be a painful experience and you don't know what to do and you just want it done and to say that I'm not a virgin anymore. But it's all about being open and honest with yourself, I think, first, and then expressing that to your partner very clearly with confidence.
Yeah, particularly when you get older, and like you said before, that when you change partners and it's the first time with them, I can imagine, or I know from my experience, it's the first time either way. What's happening, how is he working? What does he like? What does he does not like? And all of this new things come in. And my experience is that every time with a change of partner, it's always like, oh, this is new, this is different, it's no one is the same. And I sometimes think we forget, even though we change partner, that we think the first time with that partner it was like this and he enjoyed that and he did this, so sex is now like that. Forgetting that you have grown, you have changed, and now you have a different person, so It will be totally different again.
Yeah, that's very true.
Yeah, and that can be a new opportunity to rediscover, to enjoy it maybe more.
Yeah, I think on that point, to me, it's very important to also view your long-term relationship like that. And when I work with couples, I say to them, if they're having problems with intimacy, I say, why don't you just pretend that every time is the first time? And just, experience it as something new and start with something different. Whether it's, you always start with kisses in the neck, do something different. And, see every time as your first time, and, be a bit curious. Be a bit curious about yourself, be a bit curious about your partner, and, see the reaction when you do something different. It is exciting when you are willing to, view every time that you are intimate with your partner as the first time. It's great. So, maybe people can keep that in mind. It doesn't have to be boring, same old every time if you are in a long-term relationship. What do you think, Anna?
I agree. Yeah. And I work with my clients, we work on the mindset, so to quieten that voice that tells you have to do it the same way, or I don't want to do it because it's the same thing all the time. So yeah, it's a big topic, I think, in many relationships, particularly long-term relationships, and there is opportunities and ways to mix it up.
Definitely.
Yeah. So we're at the end, huh?
Yeah, we're at the end of the first episode. I hope everybody enjoyed it. When's the next one? And are we going to do it weekly or 2 weekly, or what did we decide?
We said monthly.
Okay, monthly.
So the next one is on the 7th of August.
Great. And we will think about the topic, and it will come.
Your turn.
Yes, it's my turn to think about the topic. And hopefully everybody will find that topic interesting too, and come and share your experiences, and learn some tips and techniques and valuable experiences that people share, because we all learn from each other, don't we?
Yes, we do.
Definitely. Thank you for listening, Kay. Thank you, Claire, and for everybody else that's silent listeners in the background. Thank you for coming, and we'll see you next time.
Bye-bye.
Bye.